How's it going to feel to be at Heinz Field on the other sideline this time?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when I cross that bridge.
Alejandro, what do you remember about the game in Pittsburgh last year? I mean, with the 3 postponements, but is that also a great example of how unpredictable this game can be? I mean, the Ravens were big underdogs, and it's a close game down to the end.
It was an awesome game for us because the roster was completely decimated. But it was also very tough because then we had to play, I think, 3 games in 14 days. And I don't think it's ever been done in the NFL before. And so that was physically very, very difficult from what I remember.
Alejandro, what was your perspective on this rivalry? Now you're on both sides of it, but what was your perspective of the rivalry on that side?
My perspective on the rivalry, I mean, I think it's really interesting to look at big picture of how the NFL works. Usually you have one team doing very good in a conference, and usually all the rest of the quarterbacks and head coaches get fired after a certain amount of time. You look at the AFC East, for example. Bill Belichick has been punishing that conference. But I think in the AFC North, you got Coach Tomlin and you got Coach Harbaugh that are just resisting, to give in to each other. And so that's how I feel that the rivalry has been, sort of developed in the past 20 years.
So I take it no extra emotions going into this game, judging by your first answer?
If Marquise Pouncey was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that game is not happening. That game will turn to blows, between me and him. I'll probably line up at nose, and he'll line up at the end, and it's going to be unsportsmanlike, the whole game. But right now, obviously, me being a new team and a new system with new teammates, and in this journey that we have, we have to be really, at our best, week in and week out. And we're going against a very good football team and amazing defense that I know is preparing, to the best of their ability. So for me, it does feel like we're going against a very good defense that knows us very well. And that's just more motivation to prepare harder, to go harder practice, and to try to fight this very good team.
Alejandro, how hard is it to not let those extra emotions kind of creep up? I mean, because they have to be there somewhere.
Yeah.
How hard is it, or do you find it a challenge at all to not let something extra take hold this week or on Sunday?
No, I mean, I think the game of football is almost autopilot. It's not. A lot of times they say you're going to play harder or easier. Like, no, you play to the best of your abilities regardless of who you're playing against. Whether you're playing against the Lions or whether you're playing against the best team in the NFL. As a player, me personally, I think you always try to do your best. It's not like you're going to reinvent yourself for a game. Otherwise, what have you been doing, in the past few games? But there is, truly an emotional component of, going back to Pittsburgh is a city that I've lived the longest in my life. I had all 4 of my kids there. I went to school in Pittsburgh, and I think Carnegie Mellon was one of the biggest influences in my life. And then, obviously seeing a lot of people like Coach Tomlin, John Norwick, the head trainer, Gary Guimont, people that have had a significant impact on my life as I transition out of the military and try to, start a career in the NFL.
Speaking of reinvention, when you signed with the Ravens, they were NFL's most run-heavy team. This year they've been a little bit more conventional just in terms of that run-pass ratio.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Has that mattered to you?
No. I think the cool thing about what I've experienced my whole life is that when you go into a new group, a new culture, you start seeing who the leaders are, and then they almost carry the team. And for us in the Baltimore Ravens, being close to Lamar Jackson, my locker's right next to his, and being able to play with him has been phenomenal. Whether I have to play right tackle, or any other position on the field, it's been really awesome. And whatever highlights his talents and his abilities, and whatever wins his games, it's what we're willing to do.
You mentioned with Lamar, this is one of the, he's even acknowledged this was one a game that he really liked and how well he performed. How did he react? Just you watching him from a game that he felt like he didn't play his best.
I don't worry and I don't focus about Lamar. I enjoy his presence. I love the way he acts with the teammates, how he brings the whole team together. But I worry about myself and my job. It wasn't perfect, hasn't been clean, so I just got to worry about protecting him. And as it comes to him, he's a talented kid from Broward County, you know, the football mecca of the United States. And so he plays with a different demeanor. I can't recognize it. I just can be inspired by it and try to match it, obviously.
Alejandro, you came from Pittsburgh, where Ben Roethlisberger he gets the ball out of his hands extremely fast, to where Lamar, you never really know how long that play is going to go with him extending it. How do you think you've adjusted to that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. You know, where's he on the pocket? I mean, there's just a lot of things that are different. But again, you know, when you're in the huddle with Lamar Jackson, you know, he does inspire greatness in all of us, you know, regardless of who we are or our abilities and whatnot. And, you know, that definitely compensates for, you know, the other minutia that comes with the game. You know, my job is to try to do my job to the best of my abilities, and that's just my focus.
So what's it been like being on this side of the rivalry this season? You know, just your experience here overall compared to the Steelers?
I think the media loves this rivalry. Obviously, the ratings go up, tickets go up. Again, none of these teams want to bend the knee to the other, so they're always going to be competing for number one, number two. But to me, it's just that. You know, I mean, I come from a country where there was a true rivalry between two giants in Real Madrid and Barcelona. I think I was asked that on my initial press conference. And so, you know, to me, that's a rivalry. I mean, that's a rivalry that's tearing the country apart. You know, this is just two good teams that happen to play each other twice a year, usually in the cold, you know, from working towns, you know, so everybody just wants to be the most blue collar, you know, if you will. But, you know, I always saw the Brazilian players on Real Madrid and Barcelona just completely ignoring everything else that came with the rivalry. And I feel somewhat like that, you know. This rivalry to me is a tough game. It's a tremendous defense. They both want to run the ball and play defense, so it's always going to be low scoring points. Fans are going to get into it. But unfortunately, I cannot provide any further hype to the rivalry, you know. So
they have not played well the last few weeks, especially on defense. I mean, do you just kind of throw that out, though, or does that affect the way you look at the matchup at all?
No. Listen, Coach Tomlin is one of the greatest minds in the National Football League, and I have an incredible amount of respect for him. Cam Hayward is probably one of the best, if not the best, defensive player. You know, TJ obviously is a game wrecker. Alex Highsmith is an unbelievable football player. Devin Bush, Schobert, secondary Minka. Joe Hayden is an incredibly intelligent player. So it's, you know, record statistics, they're awesome to write articles and to hype up and, you know, bring down football teams. But for us as players and us as teams, we understand that we're going against a very, very good defense, one of the best in the NFL. And so it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us, regardless of what they've done in the past.
You talked earlier about Tomlin and Harbaugh and just their success over time. What is it about the two of them that you think has allowed them to have this sustained success?
I can't tell you that unless you offer me a coffee and a cigarette. You know, I can't just, you know, I can't ruin it for everybody else. But it's been an amazing experience for me to watch the two cultures. You know, obviously I spent a lot more time with Coach Tomlin. You know, he's like a father figure to me. I miss speaking like him because I used to, you know, listen to him talk all the time. And he's an amazing speaker. And, you know, I would talk to my kids and sound just like Coach Tomlin. But now it's really interesting to see Coach Harbaugh and how he's countered the Steelers and that culture to remain a very good team in the AFC and in the AFC North. So amazing experience, but I cannot say any further than that, you know, because, you know, especially during this week, things can get taken out of context. Maybe not here, but definitely in the other city.
Last year in Pittsburgh was the first for Matt Canada. I guess what kind of fingerprints did he leave on the offense? I know you probably haven't studied their offense too much, but there's a lot of misdirection, trying to stretch the field, simplify for the offensive line so they can come off the ball, you know, and not really overthink the blocking schemes. And you know, I don't study the offense, but I know he's a very good coach and very diligent, so he'll have the offense ready for sure.
Did Ronnie Stanley run you the same over?
No, I took him from him as well. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, for sure.